Amelia Hart had spent 13 years trying to forget the sound of her mother's voice. But the truth was, she had never succeeded. Even after all the miles she had crossed, all the cities she had lived in, all the nights she had spent alone in unfamiliar rooms, the echo of that voice still lived somewhere deep inside her, like a memory that refused to die. She had left home at 20, angry at the world, angry at herself, angry at a family she believed didn't understand her. She had promised she would never return. But life has a way of circling back, of forcing people to face the things they tried to bury. The bus ride back to her hometown felt endless. The landscape outside the window shifted from wide highways to narrow rural roads, from tall buildings to open fields, from noise to silence. She watched it all pass by with a strange heaviness in her chest. She wasn't the same girl who had run away. She had lived, she had suffered, she had grown, and she had lost more than she ever expected. But she didn't know if her family had changed. She didn't know if they would welcome her or turn her away. She didn't even know if they were still the same people she remembered. When the bus finally stopped at the small station, she stepped out with trembling legs. The air smelled of pine trees and distant rain. The town looked almost frozen in time. The same bakery stood on the corner, the same old church towered over the square. The same cracked sidewalks stretched toward the neighborhoods she once knew by heart. She felt like a ghost walking through a life she had abandoned. She didn't go straight home. She wandered first, letting her feet guide her through streets filled with memories. She passed the school where she had spent her childhood, the park where she used to read under the big oak tree, the riverbank where she had once dreamed of escaping. Everything felt familiar yet distant, like a dream she had woken up from too soon. Eventually, she found herself standing in front of the house she had sworn she would never return to. It looked older, smaller, more fragile. The paint was peeling, the windows were fogged, and the garden was overgrown. But it was still home. Her heart pounded so loudly she thought it might burst. She took a deep breath and walked toward the door. Before she could knock, the door opened. Her mother stood there. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Time seemed to stop. Her mother looked older, with silver strands in her hair and lines around her eyes. But her expression was the same mixture of strength and softness Amelia remembered. Her mother's hand rose slowly to her mouth, trembling. "Amelia," she whispered, as if afraid the name would break. Amelia felt her throat tighten. She tried to speak, but no words came out. Her mother stepped forward, tears filling her eyes, and before Amelia could react, she was pulled into an embrace that felt both foreign and painfully familiar. The scent of lavender, the warmth of her mother's arms, the sound of her heartbeat. It all came rushing back, overwhelming her. "You came home," her mother whispered. "After all these years, you came home." Amelia closed her eyes, letting herself sink into the moment. She didn't know how long they stood there, holding each other, crying silently. When they finally pulled apart, her mother cupped her face gently, studying her as if trying to memorize every detail. "You look so different," she said softly, "but you're still my daughter." Amelia swallowed hard. "I didn't know if you would want to see me." Her mother's eyes widened. "Want to see you, Amelia? I prayed for this day every night for 13 years. The words hit her like a wave. She felt something inside her crack open, something she had kept locked away for far too long. Her mother led her inside. The house smelled the same: old wood, warm spices, and something sweet baking in the kitchen. The furniture was familiar, though worn. Family photos lined the walls, and Amelia felt a pang in her chest when she saw her younger self smiling in pictures she barely remembered. "Your brother is in the backyard," her mother said quietly. "He never stopped looking for you." Amelia froze. She hadn't thought about her brother in years. Not because she didn't care, but because the guilt was too heavy. He had been her best friend growing up, the one person who understood her better than anyone. Leaving him had been the hardest part. She stepped outside slowly. The backyard was filled with the sound of birds and the rustling of leaves. Her brother, Daniel, stood near the old shed, fixing a broken fence. He looked older, stronger, with a beard and tired eyes. She watched him for a moment, her heart aching. "Daniel," she said softly. He turned, the hammer fell from his hand. For a moment, he just stared at her, disbelief written across his face. Then he walked toward her slowly, as if afraid she might disappear. When he reached her, he stopped, his eyes filled with tears. "Amelia?" he whispered. She nodded. He pulled her into a tight embrace, lifting her off the ground like he used to when they were kids. She laughed through her tears, clinging to him. "I thought you were dead," he said, his voice breaking. "I thought I lost you forever." "I'm here," she whispered. "I'm finally here." They spent hours talking, sitting on the old wooden steps, sharing stories of the years they had missed. Daniel told her about the family, about the struggles, the changes, the moments of hope and despair. Amelia told him about her life, the places she had been, the mistakes she had made, the pain she had carried. She didn't hide anything. For the first time in years, she felt safe enough to be honest. As the sun began to set, her mother joined them with tea and warm bread. They sat together, the three of them, watching the sky turn shades of orange and pink. It felt like a moment suspended in time, a moment Amelia wished she could hold on to forever. But the past has a way of creeping back. Later that night, after her mother had gone to bed and Daniel had gone inside, Amelia walked through the house alone. She stopped in front of a closed door, her old bedroom. She hesitated before opening it. The room was exactly as she had left it. The posters on the walls, the books on the shelves, the drawings she had made as a teenager. It was all there, untouched. Her mother had kept it the same, as if waiting for her to return. Amelia felt tears fill her eyes. She sat on the bed, running her fingers over the worn blanket. She didn't hear the footsteps behind her until her mother spoke. "I couldn't change it," her mother said softly. "I couldn't let go." Amelia turned. Her mother stood in the doorway, her eyes filled with sadness. "I thought if I kept it the same," she continued, "you might come back someday." Amelia stood and walked toward her. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I'm so sorry for everything." Her mother shook her head. "You don't have to apologize. You were hurting. You needed to leave. I just wish you had told me why." Amelia looked down. The truth was heavy, but she knew she had to say it. "I was scared," she said. "I felt like I didn't belong. I felt like I was disappointing everyone. I didn't know how to stay." Her mother stepped forward and took her hands. "You were never a disappointment. You were lost, and I should have seen it." They held each other, letting years of silence melt away. The next morning, Amelia woke to the smell of pancakes. She walked into the kitchen to find her mother cooking and Daniel setting the table. It felt surreal, like stepping into a memory. They ate together, laughing, sharing stories, filling the house with a warmth it hadn't felt in years. But Amelia knew she couldn't stay forever. She had built a life elsewhere, even if it was a broken one. She had responsibilities, unfinished business, and wounds that still needed healing. She didn't know how long she would stay, but she knew she needed time. Over the next days, she reconnected with the town. She visited old friends, walked familiar paths, rediscovered places she had forgotten. She spent long evenings talking with her mother, learning things she had never known, understanding the struggles her family had faced after she left. She and Daniel grew close again, rebuilding the bond they had lost. But the biggest challenge came when she visited her father's grave. He had died 5 years after she left. She stood there for a long time, staring at the stone, feeling a pain she had never allowed herself to feel. She spoke to him, telling him everything she had never said, apologizing for leaving, for not coming back sooner, for not being there when he needed her. She cried until she had no tears left. When she returned home, her mother held her without asking questions. Days turned into weeks. Amelia found herself healing in ways she hadn't expected. The house, the town, the people, they all helped her rediscover parts of herself she thought were gone forever. She realized that coming home wasn't just about returning to a place. It was about facing the past, forgiving herself, and allowing herself to be loved again. One evening, as they sat on the porch watching the stars, Daniel turned to her. "Are you staying?" he asked. Amelia looked at the sky, feeling the cool breeze on her face. She didn't know the answer, but for the first time in years, she felt hope. "I don't know," she said honestly. "But I'm not leaving yet," Daniel smiled. "That's enough." Her mother joined them, sitting between them, holding their hands. They sat in silence, the three of them, under the vast night sky. Amelia closed her eyes, letting the moment wash over her. After 13 years, she had finally come home. And for the first time, she felt like she belonged.
Free audio post-production by alphonic.com.